What's up, everybody? If you're just joining us, I'm Code for Broke, a mentally ill video game developer, and I keep it pimpin' on principle. Now, I've been tasked with developing a game that came to me in a shamanic vision. It's sort of a Kenshi Dwarf Fortress type open world RPG with old school sprite sheet graphics in a procedurally generated world with a focus on emergent gameplay. And if any of that was starting to sound interesting to you, I've got some bad news. Some of my more perceptive viewers may have noticed a slight problem in that this game doesn't actually function at all, so it's not really even a game to begin with. It certainly used to be, I think. I mean, I'm showing gameplay clips on the screen right now, so surely this entire thing isn't some kind of fever dream, right? In fact, I'm almost certain you could, at some point, play this game. But, well, you can't. You just can't. What is going on? Well, it turns out every single thing broke when we switched from the dated flat test world to the sexually charged three-dimensional chunk-based land generation because it warranted a new AI solution and introduced a third dimension. The blood is broken, the AI is broken, the animations are broken, everything is completely f***ed. It's feeling a bit like Canada in that regard. And since video games are supposed to be an escape from reality instead of an extension of it, we ought to start fixing things up. Now, last time I had re-implemented a very basic follower AI so my Patreon subscribers and I could frolic in the woods together. And while it was cute laughing and giggling while chasing me around the trees, the directions of the characters were only ever facing diagonally due to, as I said, the animation being broken. With that fixed up, we're once again facing 8 ways. Now, when the boulder rolls back down the hill and you have to start everything from scratch, it's a good opportunity to get things right. You surely haven't played this game since no one goddamn f***ing has, but something feels off about attacking. It's not snappy, sometimes the animations don't play when they're supposed to, or they get interrupted in weird ways. Turns out the animation generator I made wasn't handling the last few frames of the animation correctly, and with that corrected, the animations feel a little bit smoother. Attacking also causes the character to slide forward constantly for the duration of the attack. This contributed to attacking feeling off because it wasn't synced with the animation of the actual character. Now the movement only happens during the step forward and not during the swing afterwards, so it feels a little more synced up with the actual animation. Finally, a years-old f***up was preventing the flinch animation from overriding other animations properly when a mob got hit. This caused mobs to often shrug off attacks, not reacting to them at all, which made it feel like you were hitting them with a pool noodle instead of a dope-ass sword. Now characters always react to being hit, just as God intended. A full combat overhaul is still in the roadmap, but for now these fixes make things feel much better. Next, the blood system, which I'd actually grown quite fond of, unfortunately is not fit for 3 dimensions. It was placing tiny mesh triangles on a flat plane, which looks cool but doesn't really perform well. And if you try and align those tiny mesh triangles with the surface they impact, you start getting some pretty shithouse results, and they could never really work with props, which was fine when the environment was empty, but now we've got our glorious trees and rocks. For our new solution, we'll project an image in the direction of the attack onto the terrain. I drew a few different splatter patterns, which I'll add to over time, which we can randomly select, rotate, and scale when an impact that does damage occurs. Here we can imagine this strikingly handsome Patreon subscriber has angered me, and I'm a vengeful man, so I'll put him in line by removing some extremities. We can pull from a different pool of images based on the damage type too. This Patreon subscriber gets bashed instead, the blunt attacks creating sparse splatters instead of long streaks. Here we can see the splatter painting the objects behind him, which wasn't possible with the old system. It's lacking some variety in this first iteration, but in the future we'll have more blood patterns, and we'll pick results based on more variables, like the actual blood lost from the attack, when we get around to implementing that. This new system gives us some additional options too. Here we can have a pool of blood expand slowly from our friend. May he rest in peace. When we get a whole group of fellas together and exact vengeance on them, we end up with a beautiful painting on the canvas of the forest floor. I think it'll be fun to stumble upon a scene like this from a fight you didn't bear witness to, and try to piece together what happened. I hope the gore system gets to a point with its detail that something like that is possible. Now we're primed to introduce some gameplay. I added AI combat back to the game, having our friends fight back when we bludgeon them. Since I fixed the combat interruption earlier, AI characters were now stun-locking the player with a relentless assault. With some additional complexity beyond what we had before, enemies will attack in short bursts until they run out of stamina, at which point they'll circle around a bit while it regenerates. Now let's see what a free-for-all looks like with all of our Patreon super friends. This is looking quite neat, but there's still some missing parts. We'll need to re-add some particles that fit the new system and let the limbs leave blood splatters as well. And when legless characters have a crawling animation, we'll want a trail of blood to follow them. So much to do. Speaking of which, and this will feel a bit out of left field, but one thing that really makes a game feel like a game is playing it on a screen with a controller. Shouldn't be a priority right now, but I wanted to motivate myself with a little twinkle of nostalgia by sitting in front of a TV with a PlayStation controller and playing my very own game. So that's exactly what I did. Now, the complexity of this game might make playing it with a controller completely unfeasible in the future, but frankly, this is just cool to me and I like it. You gotta do what feels right, folks. You gotta. Anyways, if you want to follow along, consider subscribing. I'll be here forever, never wavering in my quest. And thanks to everyone that supported me with likes and comments, and of course my Patreon super friends. Really, if you made it all the way through this video, you're a fucking beast. Every second feeds the algorithm's insatiable hunger, and gets me one small step closer towards full time. Anyways, that's it for now. I'll see y'all next time. Peace out, everybody.